Welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I am Nerder Doug, and I am prepared to have a wondrous discussion tonight with this nerd.
What's up, my man? How's it going? And Nerd Arcus Dave here as
Hey,
well.
awesome! Off to another awesome start of the week for Nerdarchy, and just me. I like Mondays. I think it's the most exciting day of the week for me.
Everyone got to witness a brief glitch in the Matrix.
Okay.
As I clicked the wrong setup on OBS.
Oh, okay.
Which looked like garbage, but it was only brief. So
yeah,
we're doing it live, folks.
All right. Hey, people have seen many technical workthroughs on Nerdarchy live chat.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of comes with the territory.
Oh, I got the wrong background. I shouldn't be in fantasy food space.
Oh no, Ingest Quest.
Hold on, let me go to Ted's basement. I'll meet you there in a second, Dave.
Food me, brother.
There we go. So tonight we're talking about wondrous items in D&D and then wherever it tangents off to from there. For being the broadest category of magic items by far, trumping everything, even weapons and armor. It's kind of like maybe because of that, we were talking a little bit beforehand, it's like sort of a difficult one to talk about because it's like, I don't know, it's just everything that isn't one of those other things
falls into that category.
Yeah. We even have to watch ourselves with our own magic item stuff because it's like, they still are the most. I mean, even amongst our stuff, but it's like, okay, like, in a monthly Patreon reward, it might be like, these are all wondrous items. Like, let's can we make one of them something else? Can we make it a rad?
Yeah.
Which is I think that's the most scant of magic items.
It is only a single page. On D&D Beyond, I don't even know how rulebooks work anymore, to be honest with you. Yeah. I pretty much do everything on D&D Beyond, and for better or worse, there's like 37 pages of magic items, and 22 of them are wondrous items for a whopping 429. Yeah. I almost wish they skipped the last page.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, it's just a catch-all category. But that being said, a lot of my favorite items in the game or that I've had characters that have had over the years have been wondrous items. Because frankly, I think a cloak is the coolest magic item in D&D. I mean,
honestly, when
D&D, man, it's like you got to wear a cloak in a fantasy world. So
usually when we play at higher levels and the GM's like, you can have a magic item. Like, my go-to is Cloak of Protection.
Go ahead.
I'm just like +1 to armor class, +1 to all your saves, and it's I think it's just an uncommon too.
Yeah, but it might be one of those variable ones because it's like a +1 is uncommon.
No, there's only +1 protection.
Oh, really?
There's a Cloak of Protection and a Ring of Protection, and one of them. They do the same exact thing, but one of them is a higher tier than the other. I don't know why.
Is it the ring?
It might be the ring.
Probably has something to do with like how few there are, and you can only wear some. I don't know. Although in 5e, as me and Ted discussed with rings, there is no limit on like you can only wear 2 rings. It's like you can wear as many rings as you have fingers or finger-like digits.
Yeah. I mean,
it's the same way. I mean, if you can, you can wear a robe of stars over your armor. You could wear 2 cloaks. You could probably wear some sort of hat over a helm of brilliance. I mean, or under it.
Man, I'm pretty sure one of the designers, maybe Jerry Crawford, is like, you can wear 2 cloaks if you want. Yeah. Like, if you can figure out how to do it, you can do it. You may just look ridiculous.
Maybe you look really cool. I mean, you could kind of like, if you're into fashion,
side cloak them,
offset one of them so it has like a striking, bold, contrasting color.
Yeah, maybe that's for the more advanced players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the protection is uncommon. So I imagine it's the ring that is the more.
Yeah, that is strange though, having the same exact features and stuff.
Yeah, it makes 0 sense considering you don't need.
Yeah, I don't think they factor in anything.
They both require attunement.
Like, well, a ring's harder to notice, so it's not as obvious that you're wearing something. I don't think that would be like it.
I don't know, man. But honestly, if I'm in a game where I can get both, I will actually take both. I mean, like, they're very boring, but it's just like, every single round of every combat, your armor class is going to come up, and just having a +2 to all your saves is pretty nice.
And like we've talked about many times in the channel and everything, is like, in 5e, your character has plenty of cool shit they can do, right? Whereas in like earlier editions, it's like your magic items were how you did the cool stuff, right? Except spellcasters, but most of the other classes really didn't have too many flashy, abilities and powers and features and things. So yeah, to your point, it's like, look, especially starting at a higher level where you can pick your stuff. It's like, I'm making the character, I know what cool stuff they can do. I don't need to be like, if you're just playing the character, like, I didn't even get to do the cool stuff I can just normally do. So so I don't need a magic item to do that. And that totally makes sense. I mean, it's like those things will just keep you alive longer to do those cool things. Right?
Now, when we were talking about like some of the other magic items, like especially like staves, rods, and wands, it was like, okay, there's definitely like some cool, notable things in like the D&D lore, right? Where you're like, where you kind of like associate them with like a figure or a character.
Sure.
Where Wondrous items, not as much, but I was just thinking like of the iconic items that come up in our games, like Ion Stones, the Deck of Many Things. I mean, the Cloak of Invisibility, let's face it, that was in the cartoon.
Yeah.
And also like with Harry Potter, that kind of brings that back to the fore as well. And then I
don't know. I'm gonna have to. I don't know if I see your point though, because like there's a ton of rich, deep D&D lore and iconic Wondrous items. Orb of Dragonkind.
Well, sort of, but they're artifacts. Like I guess the artifacts. There's a couple, like, because you have the hand and an Eye of Vecna. And the Dragon Orb
stones, though. I mean, those are pretty iconic. Those are a pretty uniquely D&D thing. I mean, I think, although that being said, who knows? Ion could be like a Babylonian god that, like, the original OG designers came across. And
no, I'm saying from D&D, these are the items that I consider pretty like iconic.
Oh, okay.
But they're not like uber powerful, like like the Staff of the Magi, or like or like, for instance, like, so you had the Ruby Rod of Asmodeus, right?
Yeah.
Or the or Ruby Wand of Asmodeus, and it was the Rod of Orcus, right?
Yeah.
Like those are like iconic, but they're like very singular, like these entities. Kind of like they embody these entities.
Those, like, the weapons and things that are based on ours, or even the cloak and all that, are sort of iconic in their own lore that inspired the D&D thing. They are singular as well. But that's just how most fantasy media is. It's not like everybody in the Brother has a cloak of invisibility and a magic sword and stuff.
It depends on the game you're playing in.
Yeah. I have always loved all the clever art that has been for Wondrous items, especially because there's a lot of puns and things in there, and just like, jokey kind of. I mean, they're cool items and stuff, but the art.
Are you trying to tell me an item that produces mayonnaise is jokey? Have you ever tried to make tuna and not had mayonnaise?
No. I guess I was thinking of. I just like the detail, like how the dust of sneezing and choking is like in a little jar that has like the nose comes off, and that's where the powder comes out, and like the displacer cloak of displacement has like the displacer beast tentacles hanging out from the cloak of the manta. I just always like that kind of flair. They've always been like that in the game, but yeah, in 5e there's a lot of cool art. There's a lot of Wondrous item art and just magic item art. But
well, I mean, there's also just a lot of Wondrous items, so you need a lot of art.
Sure. I like how the slippers of spider climbing are just straight up, like, literally slippers.
Well, what else would they be? I mean, they're slippers.
Yeah, I mean, but they're like, they're like slide on.
I know. The best part is, like, the slippers will allow you to stick the ceiling, but more than likely they're just going to fall off your feet.
Yeah, it doesn't even have a back. It's like literally.
You can't run in those.
Yeah.
You can, but you're leaving at least one of them behind.
Yeah, maybe they're sticky inside too, so they.
Yeah, that's kind of what you need.
Yeah.
Like spray-on shoes from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. You probably haven't seen that. You don't have kids.
I read the book.
Oh, did you? I didn't realize it was a book.
I mean, when I was in elementary school.
Yeah.
That's an old ass book.
When you're in elementary school, that is an old ass book.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So let's see. There's no questions, but we have some familiar names in the chat. I'll try to speak up since Viking Beer 1970 is changing his brakes.
Yeah. I have not changed a set of brakes on a car in a long time, and I like it that way.
I never have. But yeah, and Dangerman 905 mentions the Cantor ventless water, and like I guess those are always not that particular, but those kind of things are always my favorite Wondrous items because it's like, well, they just do a lot of weird things, and I like it's like it might only come up one time, but usually when it does, it's like, man, that was really cool that you had that.
Well, and it's also nice when it's something you don't have to attune to, but it's like cool that you can hold on to it for those instances. Because then it gets a little tougher. Like, I just started playing in a game Sunday, and my son's friend is GMing for us, and I don't know if he's GM'd any other games. If he has, it's not very many, and I don't think he's GM'd any campaigns.
Okay.
So I can already see the new GM coming out because he's already given us like 4 or 5 magic items.
That's fine.
And we all just got the second level. So, but on the plus side, they're all like things like a ring of jumping, ever smoking bottle, some mystery key, things that aren't like too game breaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, but especially impactful at low levels, like even something like ring of jumping. Is that allow you to cast jump, or is it just while you're wearing it, your jump's doubled?
It's out of the book, so it's but you can do it whenever you want. But
you cast the spell, or
I don't remember if it's an action or a bonus action, but you cast the spell, jump lasts for a minute, and it is
pretty balanced. At least like if it was just always on, that'd be pretty powerful at low levels too. I mean,
my one rogue has it. In Ted's campaign, a ring of jumping and
Bolt.
Yeah, and he also has gauntlets that allow him to like climb, so it can make him annoying for Ted at times. Because I'm like, well, let me just bound 30 feet up this wall and cling to it.
Yeah, but you need some slippers of spider climbing too.
It's fine. I've got gauntlets of climbing.
Oh,
they're like a Ted made item.
So is that more impactful in the sense of like when you're in combat, because you guys use a grid and stuff too for important ones that it's hard to keep them pinned down?
Well, yeah, I mean, especially when we've done like things in like an urban environment.
Oh yeah,
between being able to also I guess in the wilderness as well, but being able to climb and jump. So
well, but that's what's cool, it makes that character cool. And as I say, it's like it is like those kind of things are challenging to balance either way. I think even like narratively too. I mean, it's the same along the same lines of like why some people are uncomfortable with Aarakocra having flight. It's like man, that just changes a lot of things. And I'm thinking about games I'm even just totally theater of the mind when people are like, oh, I got this thing that I can just totally bypass whatever's in front of us. It's like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna be flying by the seat of my pants in a minute, because it's like I was thinking that was gonna take up like 45 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
Like your Orcus Claws thing too was similar.
Oh yeah. Well, in that case, it actually it was very useful in that case because it kept it from being a two shot.
But you know what I mean? Where it's just like, I'm sure, when you're a DM and it's just like, oh yeah, I forgot they have that thing. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I'm on Reddit and forums a lot, trying to just see what people are interested in. Of how many times, like, oh no, I don't mind. It's interesting. But just to see like what kind of things people are asked questions about and are curious. And that's so frequent. I mean, this too, of just like, the characters, my group can do X. Like, how do I deal with that? It's like, well, just, how do I stop them from doing it? It's like, but that's what they do. So just roll with it and do different things than you were going to do,
Wondrous items have a way of doing a lot of that because there's such a variety.
And they're often those kind of things, especially where players are like, oh yeah, I have this thing. It's like, I could just cast Dimension Door or like Whole Person or whatever, And you're just like, oh.
Well, that's the other thing. That same character,
like those are where as the DM, those things are more dangerous than the +1 bonuses, because as a player, it's like, well, yeah, I'm the one in combat, but when you're in the DM, it's like I have a million monsters and stuff.
Yeah.
But when they just like,
I only have one chasm I planned that you just bypassed.
Yeah.
That same character has like 2 figurines of Wondrous power.
Bolt?
Yeah.
Which ones? Those are definitely
Silver Raven.
Oh yeah, I've had one of those in 3.5, but yeah,
I don't think I've ever used it. And
really?
And the Serpentine Owl, which I've used that pretty often. Especially because like the game we're playing is like the world is broken.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're like on these flying masses of Earth. So
is it not Oathgania?
It is, but it's like part of it is broken.
Okay.
And basically it's like, well, if you fall over the edge, you've got X amount of time to save yourself, or you're just dead.
You should. Me and Ted talked about that in Rings. So to make a one-time use Featherfall ring would take 2 mages 1 day and 25 gold. So of downtime, it's pretty easy, like per DMG rules. So you might want to invest in those.
Oh, that is easy.
I know,
but also
that's why I always think it's weird. People are like, "There's no crafting or crafting too hard." It's like
that won't work. That won't work in the setting that Ted's running. You'll Featherfall and then die.
I'm just saying.
I think they're supposed
anecdotally.
It's supposed to be like when the world was flat. If you go over the edge, you're just going to be eaten by monsters.
Oh, I see.
Or things, or something of that nature, or you're going to fall forever. But you're basically out. Like the way it was explained to us, if you go over the edge, you're out of the game.
Sure.
If I don't know what the number is. 3 rounds or whatever. You got like 3 rounds to get back up. So
still, that sounds like a pretty fun character with this different Wondrous items. Both to be, as a player, it's like, that sounds awesome to be able to like jump around.
It's come in useful, and also as a rogue. Yeah, you're like, oh, I need to get sneak attack somehow. Hey, you go fly by that guy.
Oh, the owl,
yeah.
Those are super cool. There's a lot of them. We even have our own plushies of Wondrous power. Those are pretty fun.
They're kind of like figurines of Wondrous power, but softer and cuddlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they're all common, and they just do like minor. Like,
they're meant to amuse.
Yeah, right.
Although I'm sure, like, I can see players like using them as a distraction or something.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Especially the Dragonborn or the Orc.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Gantuan, if you put the little felt apple in its mouth, it turns into a huge plushie that doesn't do anything, but it can block something or just scare the crap out of somebody. Yeah, cloak. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I did. I thought I had a Cloak of Elvenkind. I was like, Ted, why would you give me this? Are you insane?
Oh, yeah.
For that particular character?
There's definitely Wondrous items where, as a DM, I've learned it's like, don't put that in if there's this guy.
Yeah, because I think it gives you advantage on stealth.
Yeah,
and that's a character that's already starts at like a 23 or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they get disadvantage on their perception check. And Ted got me good because he put a cursed one in. So I thought it was a Cloak of Elvenkind. I'm like, why would you put this in there? And instead, it was what was it? It was actually like it drew attention to you instead and made noises and it was like the opposite of a Cloak of Elvenkind. Ted thought it was funny.
Like funky curse on it that you had to wasn't just a remove curse spell.
No, it was just remove curse. They were all just regular. I think that was before we did our video on cursed magic. As a matter of fact, that was like I think that was what inspired it. It's because like he gave us all these cursed magic items, and we ate it up like candy. And then we're like, oh, this sucks. Once we realized they're cursed, and it was like, wait 1 day, and all the cursed magic items were gone.
See, I was thinking about that recently. About curses and that like phenomenon, and we talked about it. Kind of had a bit of a 180 on it, though. Again, in the sense of like, just because so often I find myself reading the basic rules and like for articles and research and stuff, that I just think like that's the case again, where like it only is boring and easy because people don't like, I'm not saying we play wrong, but you're not playing the game that they presented. It's like if you were adventuring and resources were scarce, and you had several encounters, not combat encounters, just encounters that you might use resources in, then that would suck. Because like you said, it's like, oh man, we got all these things, and you put them on. It's like, well, maybe it's not going to take longer than a day because you didn't get a chance, or it's like, you could blow all your spells and remove curse, and it's like, now you got to get through the rest of the day with nothing, no spells or whatever.
Yeah, like he definitely.
But again, it's like I don't play like that myself. I just that comes up a lot.
It would be definitely a lot more effective if you did it like in the middle of a dungeon where you're kind of stuck for time, and then the resources.
That's what that's what it says on the tin.
but also like your cleric, paladin, warlock, and wizard can all remove curse.
Mm-hmm. And I believe the Eldritch Invocation, if I'm not mistaken, no, it costs a spell slot because I was wondering, it usually is like only things, they're only ones that cost a spell slot or stuff that does something to somebody else. But that probably falls in that because, although who knows? But like, all the ones where it's like you can speak to animals or cats mage, like if it's just some like beneficial buff, those are the ones that I will, because I'm like, whatever, who's gonna waste their spell slot for that?
So I don't know. So I think Ted's been brewing up some more effective cursed items for our games anyway. Like that's the other big part of it too. In
either case, whether it's just a remove curse spell or some funky curse that you got to do, there is still value in cursed items, because then it's like, well, then you can use them against your enemies.
Yeah. Well, we did spend a lot of time trying to get people to buy the cursed magic items.
Just rando people?
No. There was like these.
You guys are jerks.
There's these hags. We were trying to get them to buy them.
And they didn't want them. That seems like something a hag would love to.
We like renamed them. Like I forget. I mean, it was a while ago, but I renamed the cloak of something. What was it?
Like
something
to try to make it sound more appealing.
Yeah, like it's something to get people's attention and stuff.
Oh yeah,
or performers.
You'd probably get more. Oh, you rebranded it.
Yeah, I rebranded it. Yeah.
It's not a curse, it's a blessing.
Yeah, like what bard wouldn't want this?
That's pretty good entrepreneurship.
Yeah, Ted and his hags were not buying it though.
Still, either way, you'd think a hag would be like, "Ooh, yeah, I'll take a cursed item and put it in." It's like,
yeah, I mean, they could probably do something with
it. Yeah, hags are great. Like,
I think they eventually turned on us anyway. So we got their gold. Either way.
Green hags?
I don't remember. No, I don't think they were like out of the book hags.
Oh, okay.
Because I remember we fought them, and that kicked off the counterspell palooza. Like there was like 2 or 3 people on our side that could counterspell, and there was 3 of them. So at one point, it took a while. Are we gonna let that spell happen?
I saw a meme the other day about that, like counterspelling, and the final panel was like the original guy was like, I counterspell. They're like, you'd be counterspelling your own spell at this point. Like he was, like so many people had done it.
Yeah.
Like if you worked backwards and be like, oh shit.
Well, in our Strahd battle, there was definitely a lot of that going on. And the big problem with it was like our whole group would like be out of reactions, right? So like I know like some people get mad about counterspell. I don't like it, but like when you see when like 4 of your players end up losing their reaction because of things that happened, it definitely comes up. It definitely comes up in combat. So
yeah, I never understood why people like dislike that so much. It's like it's just part of the game, and I mean, I think that's kind of cool and evocative if several people are doing. It's like, imagine what that's like in this moment. It's like that's pretty exciting, I think.
It makes it feel
and it is kind of like a mini game. It's like, man, if that happened to me as a DM or player, I'd be like, dude, all right, you got me, man. It was,
It makes it feel like a wizard duel,
Yeah.
What's not to like about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, bring it on. That was one of the more exciting videos CBGs. I thought it was like the spell duelist. I really thought that was cool to like have a campaign like that where it's like you're loaded up with the spell magics and counter spells. It's like, man, whoever can get that magic missile through first is probably going to win this battle, this wizard duel.
Have you used many Ion Stones in your games?
When I was younger, I have. It's funny. Like I've played more 5e than any other edition combined or individually, maybe even combined, but probably not. But my experience with Magic games in 5e, I have almost never had them as a player, even in Adventures League, and I probably give them out fairly often as a DM. I like, even in Quest, which isn't D&D, but it's like every session there's a magic item in there somewhere for you guys to get. And it's like, I always get them, but I just kind of I think they're cool. And it's like, yeah, they make the players powerful and they can do stuff, but as much as like flying by the seat of your pants, DMing is like gives me anxiety. It's fun too to be like, okay, man, it just gets wilder and wilder.
See what happens.
Which is kind of why I like shorter campaigns of lower level too, because it's like you just can't sustain that. I mean, it gets.
I think
like our D&D in the Castle was a lot like that. I was just like, yeah, man, here's our very rares, blah blah blah,
handing it out like candy.
And it's fun because they could do all cool stuff, and the players thought it was cool. And you could still only have the same action economy, but it was just fun. They felt, and some of them they like really earned it. Like there was me and Ted both put like a artifact that he designed, a sentient sword, and I made it like super duper hard to get. And it's like, it was like you.
So there was two of them. It's technically in the game at the same time.
Yeah, I don't think his group found his.
Oh.
But it was just like a rando room, secret door in like a chamber that was not like a main room or anything. And when we were that session, I remember, we were playing and they all were like moving on, and then one guy's like, I just want to take one last look around the room like carefully. And I was like, okay, and had like a really high perception check. I was like, damn, dude. I mean, they were just you just had an inkling. I didn't hint about anything, so they didn't even know that was in there or anything. That was pretty neat.
I know. Like, I definitely made some things up for that game. There was a sling that was like a double shot.
Yeah. That was for your betrayer.
That was for my betrayer. Got hooked up.
Put it to good use in that final session, boy.
Got to hook up that betrayer. Well, actually, I mean, also the sling is an underwhelming weapon. So it's a die for. It's underwhelming.
I don't know. I have peculiar thoughts about stuff like that. I mean, with all the bonuses and things, it's like the actual weapon die. It has an impact, but not that much, really.
Well, I mean, it's like, half as much as the other weapon dies are going to be, or a third.
But then you add on your stat, and if it's magic, and you probably got feats and something where it does extra damage on an attack, or when you got sneak attack, it's like that smite. I mean, that's where you get all your damage. It's like the weapon dies, like whatever. I mean, if you're like a spreadsheet, aficionado, and you're like, no, that's like 3.4 more DPR. It's like, okay.
Spreadsheets for the win.
I like spreadsheets, but not for that kind of stuff.
Well, when people make those choices, I try to reward them a little extra. You want to make it cool.
They did it because they thought it was a cool concept. So yeah.
Yeah. Sure. So I like to bring them up to snuff with the rest of the party, especially because
I get it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. I was just saying like the little incremental differences. But yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. You want to give players stuff that's cool for them.
Yeah.
That was one of the, we both played a lot of 3.5 too, and it's like, it was very codified. Like if you were this, like if you started at 9th level, like you had this much gold, and that's how much, here's how much magic items were. So it's like, that was as much of figuring out the feat progression as like, what magic items would make this guy awesome? I played many campaigns like that. Where it's like, I want this exact thing. And, because it's like, it wasn't random treasure you found along the way. It's like, no, I'm just getting the stuff that makes the stuff I want to do even better.
I feel like in 3rd edition, that's where we saw a lot of ion stones. We changed them too, so they didn't float around your head. We didn't particularly like that part.
I don't remember any other editions. They probably did now that I'm thinking more about it. I could totally picture like.
They're from AD&D.
I know they're in there, but like having like any mention or even rules for like just grabbing it out of the air and stealing it from.
I think they were written into the magic item.
and so I didn't think so at first, but then I was like, nah, I can picture the first edition DMG, and it was probably had
we played Ion Stones as something that had to be set in something.
Okay. Oh, like materia from Final Fantasy.
Sure.
It's like gems that you slotted them into your weapon.
I understand what you mean, but I never played the Final Fantasy games.
Fair enough.
I know I might have to turn in my nerd card.
That's a cool way to do that. I think that's pretty solid.
Yeah, totally like Infinity Gauntlet them.
I guess the floating and grabbing it is probably meant to be a check on them because they're powerful. So you guys just eliminated.
And they were more powerful.
I keistered it, man. Like, nope.
They were more powerful in second edition because there was no limit, right? In third edition, like I think you had a limit on how many. Like I don't remember what slot that filled for third edition. And in 5e, obviously, if it has attunement, you're going to be shut down by that. But in AD&D, those weren't factors. So you could have 1 million of them floating up there, I guess.
Right. One thing I like about Wondrous items and all magic items, but Wondrous items tend to be a little quirkier too. Is like just that idea that, in my imagination, I don't consider there to be like magic item factories and stuff. So it's like there might be, multiple cloaks of displacement in the world, but at least in a campaign, it's like that's the only one you've ever seen. So it's like kind of neat to wonder like, where did this come from, or like how, whose was this? I like that kind of stuff. So it's like the story behind things.
I guess there's like one Wondrous item that's like super famous beyond D&D.
Oh, what's that?
I'm thinking Figurine of Wondrous Power, Guinevere.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Jeez, I didn't even.
It's been in a lot. It's been in a lot of books at this point.
Is a Onyx Panther even one of the OG ones?
No, it's not.
So but I mean, definitely that's what.
Yeah, I mean, I think the stats are. It's been statted previously. I don't know if there's a 5e stat for it.
Right.
I don't think there is.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if there is an Onyx Panther in the 5e because of that.
It wouldn't be surprising. I don't know if there is though. I still want to run our Deck of Many game at some point.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, I think that's a great idea. Yeah, in a broader sense, like giving a party like a powerful item, even when they're first level, I think is a cool concept for any campaign. I mean, it's like, what do you do with it? People are going to want it. They're going to want to use it, but they can't abuse it. Those Spelljammer books from back in the day, those novels, that dude was like a farmer that had like the most powerful magical cloak in the universe because the ship crashed in his field.
I never read any of the Spelljammer novels.
That was the conceit. He was just like a farmer on Krynn, and like a ship crashed, and there was like a sentient magical cloak in there that drew him to do it. And it was like the master cloak that could control like the actual Spelljammer, and he just went off on his adventure. He had, no skills. He learned how to use a sword and all that kind of stuff. You reading Aaron Parks's
idea for magic a bag of holding that reduced effect on whatever is placed inside of it.
Oh, so even when you take it out, it's still small. That is cool.
That would be fun to be like, son of a.
That is pretty neat.
You have to wait for it to grow back.
Imagine putting all your gold in there. I think I would count it as like, if a gold piece is presumably a standard amount of gold.
Well, yeah, because 50 coins is a pound.
Yeah.
And if you put it in there and it cuts it in half, well, you went from 50 gold to 25 gold. Don't dare put it back again.
More than that reduction. It's like an eighth.
Oh my god. See your players. I mean, the Bag of Devouring is kind of a really wild item too. Also, if you can reduce somebody and stick somebody in there.
Imagine putting if people crawl inside.
Just go around collecting your enemies and feeding them to your Bag of Devouring.
Yeah, that is a good use for that. I mean, unlike video games, the bodies don't just fade away after a moment. Although I think most often I kind of just play like they do. Only because, like, I remember playing this one time in particular, again, back in 3.5, but it was like, it was just a dungeon, and we kept, like, dragging all the bodies of the cultists back and like pushing them in this hole. And after a while, I was like, this just seems gross, like, and just weird.
I think we kind of deal with it a little bit.
15 cultists' corpses down a hole. It's like, okay.
I mean, we like kind of deal with it a little bit in the sense that, like, if there's like a random encounter on the road or where you're making camp or whatever, we're kind of like, we usually will be like, all right, we're not going to make camp here now because there's a bunch of corpses. We're going to travel a little further away, or do something with it. Aceline, a TikToker that we've had on the live chat, she's talked about like most of her sessions are the players fighting over what to do with the bodies. They have very different opinions of what to do with the remains. You have a couple of them that are trying to like harvest and make stuff, and then some of them are like,
grosses me out.
Ted, that's Ted, man. Ted is just don't fall asleep at Ted's house, all right? Because you may wake up missing an organ.
Yeah, it's like no matter what kind of character he plays, yeah, and to his credit, he does like sort of try to justify it to the particular character's like personality, but it's like, yep, they all seem to be experts in dressing
hacking corpses. Things apart.
Yeah. Like whether it's a half-elf sorcerer or a blue monkey mutant or a
lizard folk artificer.
Yeah.
At least that one kind of makes sense. Like he's actually like always making his artifices out of body parts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just, I'm squeamish. It grosses me out. Speaking of artificers, that was like really my only other point is like that I had in my notes here, because that's the only other mention of wondrous items other than the wondrous items themselves.
As artificers can get them.
Because they can make some. Yeah. Which is pretty awesome. I mean, like we said earlier, it's like, it's actually pretty easy to make magic items if you use the downtime rules, which are themselves very, very simplistic. But still, just being able to like long rest and like, ooh, I got an alchemy jug or whatever you want. It's pretty awesome.
I mean, I guess it also depends very much on the game you're running as well, right? Like, because like, the 5e rules have the simplified version, but with the caveat of like also the AD&D rules of, this is the gold and time it will require, but your GM might also require, the tears of a unicorn and the blessing of a god to create your Holy Avenger or whatever you're making.
Well, again, that's another one of those times when like I said, I just so often like read like the basic rules specifically when I'm looking up stuff that like I kind of feel like in a lot of ways, it sounds arrogant to say, but it's like you start to like see the matrix where you're like, all the things that people like, why I wish the game did this, and how do I do this, and how do I get my players to do this? It's like, just play the game. Because it's like, if you're a player and you want to make magic items, that's something you want to do, presumably because you want to use them in an adventure, but making them seems cool to you, right? So if the DM's like, yeah, you can totally do that, but you're going to have to go do this. That'd be awesome. It's like, I would love it if players did that, right? I mean, so like
it shouldn't replace adventuring, it should encourage it.
Right, exactly. It's like, but at the same time, it's like if you just want to play it simply, where it's like, okay, well, between adventures you have 12 days of downtime. What are you guys going to do with it? And you're like, I'm going to work on that whatever I was doing. Okay, well then spend the gold and all that stuff again, which also solves that other common question: what do you do with gold? It's worthless. It's like, it's worthless if you don't use the rules of the game, sure, but I mean, if you do, then and even to your point, even if there's more to it, it's like, well, you're going to need gold to finance those adventures too. So that's why you adventure.
It also depends
goals that your character wants.
Also depends on what kind of game you're playing. I know Uthengar struggled very early and mid-game with gold because, like, I mean, plate mail is very expensive, and putting spells in your spell book is very expensive. So he was always strapped for cash.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's like those are why, you know, people are like, how do you get wizards to adventure? That's how, because you could, if you sat in your tower, you wouldn't learn anything because you don't have the money to
put them in your spell book.
Unless you had a sugar daddy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got
I think you're thinking of a warlock.
Well, I mean, no, I meant like a literal, like somebody.
I know.
Not a worldly patron, not another worldly.
Yeah, worldly as opposed to otherworldly.
Yeah, right. So it's like, yeah, I mean, and that was the classic motivation of wizards. It's like, that's why a frail bookworm goes into dungeons, because it's like, I need money to get the power. And the money's in there, so I'm going to go get it.
Wizarding ain't cheap, man. Wizarding ain't cheap.
Neither's fighting. Like you said, plate mail, weapons, health potions.
Yeah, although you kind of like max out on that stuff pretty quick.
Sure.
Unless you're playing in a world where you can buy magic items.
Or, again, to our point of how, you know, the players can, you know, contribute to the adventure. Even if you're a fighter, maybe you want to commission somebody to make magic armor, and they're going to need all that gold. And it's like, sure, I'll do it.
They're going to need the unicorn tears.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, yeah, I really feel like the game itself does encourage a lot of that collaboration, that people are like, how do I do this? Or why, you know, the game should do this better. It's like, there's a lot in those rules that is very, to facilitate those things. Yeah. And I don't mean to follow, like, you should just follow these rules like you're some kind of, like you're from the lawful neutral plane or whatever. I'm just saying there's a lot of resources and inspiration in the core game to do a lot of things that people.
For sure. Jonathan, it says Nerdarchy versus Geekarchy. I bet Geekarchy's taking as a domain name someplace, because when we were creating Nerdarchy, we went through every iteration of geek and nerd looking when we were trying to figure out what we were going to name the channel.
Well, I will participate in that conflict right now by saying Nerdarchy sounds way cooler than Geekarchy. I'm glad it was taken, because geeks are people that bite the heads off chickens, and it's just a weird sounding word. And Nerdarchy, my interpretation of Nerdarchy is a rule by nerds, not like anarchy. But nerds.
Yeah, well, that is the definition in the Urban Dictionary. So,
and so when you rule, I mean, who cares if you're a geek at that point? We rule. Ted
was feeling more geeky than nerdy when we started.
He looks like the kind of person that would bite the head off a chicken. If I didn't know him, I'd be like, yeah,
that guy's definitely biting the heads off of chickens.
Jonathan, come on, they're not red, they're blue blockers, so they're orange.
They look reddish to me too. But I also might be colorblind. I don't know. He would take them off, but then he's going to blast away his computer and the camera. We're just going to see a blaze of red, and then no more Doug.
My ruby quartz lenses.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of like lenses and things in D&D that are wondrous items. That would be a cool one to give like a cyclops beam,
a gaze attack.
Yeah, like a force beam or something. I mean, you could different lenses that you could like force beam, and
I mean a circlet of blasting could definitely just
What does that do? Scorching ray?
Yeah, scorching ray.
Does it do 3? Yeah,
it does. It's I'm pretty sure it's the spell. In my one game, they did find a circlet.
It was on the Auroch, right? Didn't the Auroch and Scarlet
the Arun, the Auroch, the Paladin Steed, they put it on Arun, essentially making Arun a laser unicorn.
Yeah, I liked that character a lot. What was Jean's character's name? I
don't remember, but she was so fun to run for. Mm-hmm. Like she definitely has a smile that just lights up the whole game, or her mischievous giggle when she's getting ready to do something. An awesome player. Yeah, cool. Yeah, that to this day, is still one of my favorite games to run. That group of players was so excellent.
Heck yeah. Jonathan Camano, this is lavender melon kombucha.
Yeah, you always have something weird. I'm boring. I just have coffee.
I like to promote good gut health to nerds.
Mm.
And coffee's for the morning. I'll be up all night.
Yeah.
So drink your kombucha, nerds.
Mm. And if they become sponsors, you'll say the brand.
Yeah.
One of these days,
it's been a while. It's actually been a while since anybody commented on my beverage.
Has asked. Yeah. One of these days, you're just gonna see the tubing coming off the side and going right into my arm, and it is just going to be coffee intravenously.
I just can't drink it past a certain point at night anymore because I'll just be up all night. I used to think like, it doesn't keep me up, and then one day I was like, maybe that's why I'm because I was like, I'm just not tired, and it's like, it's probably because I drank coffee is why I stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm always tired, so. And then I lay down to go to sleep and just lay there. So,
I get up at the crack of dawn and make sure that nerds have fun memes to look at all day and posts and all that kind of stuff.
It's good.
Podcasts to listen to, which has been pretty cool.
It is a great service that you're doing for the world. Yeah, hopefully people are enjoying the podcast. I have not yet seen it, wouldn't mention it, but if you if you happen to be a patron, one of the things you get is the podcast version of the daily live chats we do. So we have them, so you can take them on the run if you want. You can just download the audio from over on Patreon. I think they can download it, right?
Yeah. Or just listen to it in the browser. But yeah, you can download it. Yeah, I like that we just put everything there, and it's like, it's like if you're a patron, you can scroll down and get all the podcasts, all the monthly rewards, and the magic item cards, and Dave's maps from his game.
I like iced coffee, but I rarely drink it. Like, I generally just drink hot coffee. Like, even if I go buy coffee, it'll probably be hot. Like, when it's hot out, my theory is you just need to turn up the heat. Fire with fire.
Not me. I'm an iced coffee guy. Hot coffee's for the morning and afternoon, and then maybe early evening I'll have iced coffee.
And then and tea. I rarely drink tea. I only drink tea when I'm sick.
I don't like tea hot or iced.
No.
I just don't like it. It's like, it just seems like coffee's wimpy cousin. It's like, how do I drink coffee? If I'm going to drink some carbonated beverage, I'm going to drink coffee.
Carbonated? You mean caffeinated?
Yeah.
Yeah. Carbonated coffee would be weird.
There's that, my mom loves that coffee flavored Coca-Cola. She's like crazy.
I've never even heard of that.
You might like it if you like.
That sounds like a wondrous item, to be honest with you. A decanter of coffee flavored Coca-Cola.
Yeah, so that might be more. That might supplant.
Are you fucking with me? I don't even think that's a real thing.
It might supplant Mountain Dew for all weekend gaming sessions.
Ted is the Mountain Dew person.
It's like, it's got sugar and coffee.
I don't know. I gotta look this up. I don't think it's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
It is a real thing. Yeah. You're not lying to me.
She uses her Nerdarchy Amazon affiliate link to order it by the case.
Nice.
She's a good man. Getting close to time. So, do you have any favorite Wondrous items that we have made? We've made quite a few. I got the list here, but there's a lot, like 60 of them, I think.
Man, I don't know. We've made a lot of them
that we have better art for. I'll say that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, way cool. Honestly, I kind of like the frog flavored ones.
I know, right? Those are really fun. Like, if you had all those, you'd be like the ultimate frog champion. That was my favorite one. Is the croak cloak?
The croak cloak, the clockwork cool. Frog is awesome. Mm-hmm. And I know it's not a wondrous item, but the shield.
Oh yeah.
The frog shield is amazing. Do we have art for that?
No. The frog tongue shield. There's the frog skull helm. I think there's some froggy lenses, maybe somewhere. Yeah, there's a lot of frog.
Are you sure they're not a part of the frog helm, skull helm?
Oh, maybe that's what it is. It has like.
Oh yeah. You know what? When I go to like a Thai restaurant, I'd like getting getting the gunpowder tea.
Oh, okay.
Someone just did a comment that made me think about that.
Let's see. Oh, yes, they're in Muckwuggle the Frog Guy. There's the Clockwork Frog, Frog Tongue Shield, the Fabulous Frog Wand, which I believe just like summons frogs or maybe turns people into frogs, and the Frog Skull Helm.
We've got way too many magic items that are
dude, I did a post that was like how to be the ultimate frog champion in 5e D&D or something like that. And it was when we were talking about that, and I was like, I'm just going to look through the website and all our stuff. There's a lot.
Yeah. I'm so disappointed. We did the frog video last week, and we didn't mention Slad. There
are only two. You didn't mention Hezru either, but I mean,
that's true. But we do like to be thorough. But we also usually forget something. It's part of our charm.
Yeah, exactly. It gives the Nerdarchist community something to talk about in the comments and point out we're wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
it must be so fulfilling to point out the shortcomings of others.
It gives people something to do. In the game we played Sunday, I did try and purchase the Warforged from somebody else.
Oh.
I mean, it looked like a talking statue to me.
Sure, if you were familiar. Oh, yeah, geez, Aaron Parks brings up, has anyone ever played a sentient magic item, either dancing or... Played a sentient magic? I mean, as a DM, sure. But as a player... Oh, that'd be an interesting thing for like a character, like a sidekick.
Yeah.
Somebody wanted to play a sidekick character. Oh, it would be a fun campaign if everybody was some adventurer's sentient item. That'd be cool. And you could use like the sidekick rules or something like that.
The sidekicks are the adventurers and you're the sentient weapon.
It would just be like the campaign from their point of view,
Yeah, that would be kind of funny. And like, I just imagine like when the players are all sleeping, you're a sentient magic item. You don't really need to sleep. So you're just like, you're all getting together and you're just complaining about your adventurer. Yeah. I'm like, this guy is the worst.
Mm-hmm. If I don't drain somebody's soul, I am just going to lose it.
Yeah. That might be a lot of fun. I could definitely see you role playing the crap out of that.
Yeah, a lot of the things we think about on these live chats, I just think like, man, I wish we just had we should just do a show that's just like a one-shot show where we can do all these stupid ideas that we come up with.
I know. I mean, I kind of like part of me wanted to maybe do that with like different games and stuff. But it's just another thing to try and squeeze in.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it's just me trying to figure out how we can play more games.
Yeah. It's like
switch it up.
You just had so many weird campaign ideas. Secret Chest Wars I remember that was a fun one.
What was that one?
That was where people in the astral plane wage war with the material plane because they're littering their home with Liam and the secret chests.
What is with all this gold and magic items just being thrown into the astral plane?
We live here, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, it'd be like if you lived at the bottom of the sea and people keep dumping stuff over into the sea.
Sure.
It's that version.
I know, yeah. Neither of us remember what it does, but the art for that spectral lantern was really cool, which I think I want to say when something dies, it can snatch their soul out and trap it in the lantern. And
Jonathan, they had battle toads that were kind of like that, like the Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Mm-hmm.
The
they
janky
had a
version.
Genesis game and everything.
They did. There was also Street Sharks.
Yep. Oh yeah, mutant animal warriors were huge, and
it was a thing. You remember do you remember Battle Beasts?
Battle Beasts.
They were just like anthropomorphic little guys wearing armor, and they were either equipped with weapons or they had their like limbs replaced with weapons, and they were elements, right? And they had the hologram on their chest, and you would hold your finger on it, and it would reveal if they were like fire or water or air.
Yes. God, there were so many cool toys when I was a kid.
Then there was also like the little weird wrestling figures.
Mm-hmm. Those little pink things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Muscle Men.
Yeah. There was
all of which would make excellent magic. A tube of Muscle Men as a Wondrous item, where you open it up and they just like all animate and march out.
But little teeny ones.
But yeah, absolutely. They're the same.
But they're
the
like
same
super
size.
strong, like Ant-Man, proportional.
Yes.
Yeah, I had these. There was a line of toys. It was like, two whatever alien species that at war, and they all rode giant spiders. So the toys was like a glove that had like like a spider body around it, and then
I have no idea what that is, but I vaguely remember the glove spider.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I just had one of them and stuff.
We had the stupidest toys.
Yeah. A lot of the best art in Magic Items, and hence things that I like that we have, is in those Winterlord encounters. I realize like that Spectral Lantern is there, that Skull of Mach, which I think is really cool. Which I believe what is the Enchanted Skull of an Etten, and I think you can concentrate on 2 spells while wearing it or something like that while you're attuned to it. I know that's like one of those like.
That's a weird one that like attaches to your spine.
Yeah, isn't that's like one of those like like never do this in 5e things, but it's kind of like cooking. It's like, hey, when you know how to make all the eggs and stuff, you can fuck around with that stuff.
I did that. I totally
magic item makers.
I totally gave a character like their familiar special ability was to concentrate on a second spell.
Yeah. It's like one of those taboo things. So it's like there's no healing cantrips, there's no concentrating on 2 things, there's no, extra bonus action. It's like, yeah.
Sometimes you gotta throw it out.
It's like so many things in life. It's like cooking in the kitchen. When you know the basics and you got experience, it's like, well, yeah, you can mess around with that, but it's wise to not go out of the gate with it. Hey, is this Stephen Partridge?
He is. I was just thinking, Steven's here. It's time to leave.
Whoop, whoop. We still got 3 minutes.
Yeah, we do.
There, 2 curious things I've noticed since we've been doing these magic item categories.
Yeah.
There's several magic items, which I think is kind of cheesy, that have an unknown rarity, and they're all from Candlekeep Mysteries.
An unknown, not a variable.
What's that?
Like not a variable,
not a variable. Unknown. It's unknown. Like it has no. And I was like, why is it unknown? It's pretty easy to figure out what it is. Like the one, it's like you can cast a 5th level spell or whatever. It's like, then it would be very rare.
Like this isn't unknown at all. It just takes like 3 seconds and we can figure it right out.
And I was like, why the hell? I don't know. That book was kind of experimental in a lot of ways, and just weird. I don't know. It seems like
I just put 2 Candlekeep books into the giveaway pile this weekend.
Oh yeah.
I forgot I had them here. I had them sitting here, and I had another Domain of Dread.
Well, that's one I'd say drawback to the increased production schedule from Wizards of the Coast. It's like, I mean, maybe we've talked about it. Like maybe players that are like hardcore play through all that stuff, or maybe it's just to have variety. But it's like you just even as like a nerd who's a fan, like I can't even like Candlekeep was just like ephemera. It's like it's out. Ravenloft's out. Like I didn't even get it.
Yeah, flash in the pan.
I'm still reading through Ravenloft. I'm a busy guy. It's like it's a lot of stuff to absorb. So it's strange when people like a book will come out and like somebody else will have like here's our full review of it like the next day. It's like you just got it. How could you even
do a full review? Yeah, that's why we tend to do more like first looks, right? Because like it's like how do you absorb 200 page book over in one day?
Yeah, I like to really figure out like what is this book telling me? But that's the kind of quality content you get from Nerdarchy that you don't get anywhere else. So.
You definitely get something, that's for sure. But nah, like I don't know. I do like, speaking of Wondrous items, I do like all the books we got from Tasha's.
Yes,
I love the idea of books as spellcasting focuses, but also magic items for the wizard to do wizard things with, as opposed to the other books are cool, like the manuals and definitely some cool ones, but the idea that you actually like actively use it.
Yeah, they're like kind of singular, right? It's like this is so and so's book,
The ones that were existing, but not the books now, they're more like they're tied to the different schools of magic.
Oh, are they? Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
So
I
you
think
use
that's
them
really
as a
cool.
spell, but you can use them as a spell book as well.
Yeah. Yeah, in the same way, I really think that Order of Scribes is like a super cool. I think that's my favorite wizard class too. It's like this is really wizardy, like more than any other one to me. So yeah.
Well, I mean, there's nothing more wizardly than scribing spells in a book. You know?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I just when I did the post about it, I was like, man, this is a cool thing again because it's like I like to really read.
I think they can use their book as a focus too, and like they get benefits when they do, like being able to swap out energy types.
Yeah. And it's like sentient, you can talk to it. It reminded me of Firestorm, that DC. I just kept getting that vibe from it. Not, just only because it's like the art had like the disembodied head reminded me of, like the professor.
When he can see the other person.
Yeah. I was like, that's cool. That'd be a neat way to play that.
Firestorm was one of the better DC characters.
Oh yeah.
As far as being kind of like interesting and original.
Mm-hmm. Totally ridiculous disco 70s costume. I love that.
Well, what's not to love about that? So it is about that time.
Yeah.
But we're going to be back tomorrow night with you in the GM seat.
Whoop, the guide seat.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess so. The guide seat. And of course, we'll be back also tomorrow with the daily live chats, taking Wednesday off, and then be back Thursday and Friday for even more. So come on back, folks, and hang out with us. And until next time, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy. The nerdy finger having nerded moves out.